Sagittarius Rising. So you guys are ruled by the planet Jupiter. Jupiter is an expansive planet. It's a very gassy planet. It's the oldest planet that exists so far. So that's why Sagittarius are usually known as like the wisdom, sign of like where wisdom comes, natural like teachers, gurus, guides, those kind of things. Sagittarius also rules like, just because it's about expansion, it's the planet of good luck, so things just come easy with Jupiter. So this is actually known as like the best rising sign to have, just because things come naturally. Good things happen and flow into Sagittarius rising people's lives. These people are usually either like really tall, really large in some way, maybe they're like really big boned people. So they can be physically really big, or even like in spirit. These people are like, just have a big presence. So like you always know you're in a presence of Sagittarius rising because they're just very much there. And even if they're not necessarily loud, these are people who hold a very significant place in your life. And so if someone asks you who are your top 3 friends, you know, it's always going to be a Sagittarius rising in that list, because they just have this bold, big presence about them. And Sagittarius rising people need to learn to trust their wisdom. They have naturally this just innate wisdom that is upon them. So they need to trust that what they know to be true is correct, and people want to hear what you have to say. So Sagittarius rising people need to learn, or have come to learn, to trust their wisdom and their knowledge and experience, because that's what you've come to do. You've come to learn. You've come to be a student of life. A lot of Sagittarius rising people have either come from a very spiritual family upbringing, or have like, you know, generations after you, before you, like ancestors who have come from very spiritual existences. So maybe you know, your great grandparents were like in the church, or like psychics, or just had a very strong or like wise presence in their communities. So the wisdom is actually passed down. A lot of their knowledge and their wisdom is usually passed down, but they do have lots of solid advice, and a lot of people go to them as their guide or leader. People have a problem, they usually go to a Sagittarius rising. They're actually very attractive looking people. They're known as like having the full package, because these are normally like the sign of like comedian. They have this way of to be able to charm people with their humor. These are the people that can like laugh you into bed. So these Sagittarius rising people are usually known as like the full package, because they're attractive and they're funny and they have this great presence. They're wise, and just like everyone just loves Sagittarius rising. I think that a lot of it has to do with how the chart of a Sagittarius rising person kind of plays out, because every placement they have, whatever element that placement is in its corresponding house. So the first house, the rising sign, is fire. It's ruled by Mars. It's Aries energy, and you're a Sagittarius, so that's double fire. Your second house will be ruled by Capricorn. Second house having like Taurus energy, and so forth. Like it's like double of the same element in each. So if it's very complementary, you have a very complementary chart. Sagittarius rising people, not for everyone, but a lot of your purpose and your reason for being is to not necessarily find fame, but be bold and a bit more out there with your message and what you've come to do on this earth, because you have this natural ability to capture people and also have a really like bright future. Like you have this ability to kind of capture a lot of people, and so whatever you do, it's almost like you become very well known for it, and so you're almost destined to not be famous, but well known, and be very heard by like a mass of people, and have a very good reputation doing it too. Advice for a Sagittarius rising person would just to continue to be out there, be bold, be confident in your abilities and sharing what you want to share with people. Know your self-worth, because your self-worth will kind of develop slowly, and it's more over time, because you have your house of like self-esteem is in another earth sign, and so maybe your self-esteem or your self-confidence, it kind of grows like step by step. Like so with life, you guys are like old souls, and so step by step you kind of understand more about life, you understand more about this, and then everything kind of grows more organically rather than like just I just love myself now. So when people give you compliments, Sagittarius rising people need to just say, thank you for acknowledging my wonderfulness. Yes, you're right. Rather than kind of shying away and be like, oh, like, I feel uncomfortable. Like, you're supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to love having compliments. You're supposed to be in the limelight. You actually are. Sagittarius rising people are actually supposed to be like on stage and not necessarily performing, but people are here to admire you. So be admired and don't shy away from those kind of situations. So Sagittarius is all about freedom. It rules travel, foreign people. It rules luck, and having things grow and things coming quickly. So Sagittarius rising people, if they're in any situation that is restrictive in any way, that kind of takes away their freedom, they do really badly in controlling relationships. These are people that just like will lose themselves if they are in a controlling relationship, or if they have a job that doesn't allow them to really expand, or there's no growth capacity or anything like that. They won't last long. And if you are in those kind of jobs for a long time, it's a sign that you are out of alignment or not doing the right thing. You've got to be free and know that you're not kind of caged in any way. You've got to exercise your ability to be like expressive and out there, and know that you don't have any limits on anything that you want to do. So Sagittarius rules thighs, like the upper legs area. And so usually Sagittarius risings usually have like big thighs, or like kind of like horse shaped legs. So like really big thighs and like skinnier, I'd say like a chicken leg, but like really thick thighs and like skinny lower leg. Just generally good at committing to making it happen. You don't kind of go off course, and you rarely disconnect or disengage with something that you've already decided to commit to, whether that's relationship or work or whatever. And you really have to feel your experiences. You really have to like be present in whatever it is that you're going through. You can't just kind of read a book and be like, and really absorb the information. You really have to, like, your life is all about practice. And so if you want to read a book about cooking, you're not gonna just absorb the information and be done. You have to really, then you just start to incorporate that into your lifestyle. Like, you start actually cooking and doing all the different things and doing all the different experiments and things like that. So Sagittarius, you have Pisces on the 4th house. And so growing up, maybe you experienced either being lied to, or like there's something very foggy or like an illusion over your childhood. Or as a child, you were kind of never told the full truth about things. There was something very unclear. Maybe that was around like parents being abusive, or like maybe your parents were in like a rehab or hospitalized or prison or something like that. Something that you were never fully told the truth about your family dynamic. You're always like underestimated in terms of your ability. And you always like were just the kids. So like you never were told the full truth, even though you felt like you were able to handle it. As parents yourselves, you take a more detached approach, in that you really value like your child to have more freedom, and you allow them to be more expressive and kind of learn from their own mistakes and do their own thing. Maybe even don't particularly want children, or just, more about them learning things from their own, rather than being like the helicopter mum kind of thing. You really value solitude in the home. You really value either living on your own or just having your own space. It's really important. So having like a shared apartment, like sharing all the communal spaces, like that would just be really stressful to you. But what you have to be mindful of is having this space turn into a place where you kind of downward spiral. Being really conscious of your personal space, or the place that you call home, somewhere that you generally feel comfortable in and that you can expand and grow as a person, rather than get lost and disappear and disconnect from people. Like, as long as it's a productive solitude space, because Sagittarius rising people can slip into kind of just disappearing, because they love that freedom so much. And the last thing I'll say about Sagittarius is, because of just their nature, these people need to either work for themselves. It's very much like independent work, independent living. They don't do well with having managers and bosses telling them what to do with every single part of their day. They like to manage their own desk, their own workload. Like having to wake up to an alarm is just the biggest bane of their life. So if a Sagittarius rising, yeah, they just need to work on their own or work for themselves. Because when there's someone else or something else that's taken over, especially the beginning of their day, they are naturally slow to start their day. They don't like to have to get up and do something and feel like they're obliged to do something, especially in the beginning. They can find like the beginning of the day is more about them and like just doing what they generally want to do. And they tend to pick up their day like late morning, early afternoon, rather than like 6 a.m. get up and start making things happen. Like it's kind of that's a very forced schedule for a Sagittarius rising.